me, Sister Shanice, in the house for another Sister Shanice News Bulletin Report. Well, family, there has been a really interesting discussion that's been taking place in the UK Houses of Parliament about racism in the education sector, something that many people in the African community have been talking about for a long time. It's certainly not a new phenomenon. In fact, on the invitation itself, it actually makes reference to racism in the education sector that goes back to the 60s and 1970s. And so there has been a considerable history of racism and discrimination within the UK education sector that has been going on for decades, almost 60 years. And we're still having the same discussions. Today, the discussions are centered on discrimination in the overrepresentation of young people who are excluded from the education sector, the overrepresentation of young people who are referred to the pupil referral units. And we are all very, very much aware of the links between referrals to the pupil referral units and then the prison system, what's called the school to prison pipeline. And we want to rise up our sister Cheryl Phoenix, who's been doing a lot of work to raise awareness of that particular phenomenon. So the issue of racial inequality in terms of appointments, the underrepresentation of head teachers, the underrepresentation of Black teachers, the underrepresentation of professors and Black professionals in the education sector is also a major issue that has been discussed for many decades now, and it's all well documented. We've also recently been made aware of a number of incidences of racism in the school. So, for example, there was the highly publicized child Q who was strip searched on school premises and made to spread her buttocks for the police while they were trying to examine her for suspected drugs carrying, which wasn't true at all. And then we saw the recent gang beating of a young Black girl while the head teacher just casually walked on and didn't even bother trying to stop the beating that was taking place. And so there's been a big outcry recently about what's going on in the education sector. Also, if you look at the curriculum itself, there are concerns about the lack of Black affirming representation in the curriculum, the distorted African history, the denial of information about Black inventors in the curriculum. It has been an issue for a long, long time. So not surprisingly, members of our community, parents and anti-racist bodies and others who are fed up with the underrepresentation of a positive image of Africans within the UK curriculum and all the other issues that I've outlined, took their protest to Parliament. And on the 1st of March, a delegation of parents, teachers, activists, etc., attended the UK Houses of Parliament for a 4-hour discussion with MPs and senior officials on the system of education in the UK and what actions need to be taken to improve it. So joining us on our show today is one of the delegates who actually attended that meeting at Parliament. He is Alpha Kouabo. Alpha Kouabo, who is a radio presenter, Pan-Africanist, revolutionary and human rights activist.
Right, peace and Black power, Alpha Kouabo here, British Parliament, 1st of March. So we came here to have a discussion about our system of education. What can we do to improve our education to our children? Because we understand and understand we give our children this system of education that never built for us. It wasn't built for us. Now it's about time to change the course of our history, to educate our own children. That's why we came here to have this debate with the members of Parliament here in the UK. So we had this debate with the MPs, activists, professors. It was amazing. Nice experience, very, very humble experience to be here. and then talk about our education.
So you've heard there the clip from Alpha Kwaba, who's joining us in the studio today. Absolutely delighted to have Alpha Kwaba join us. And let me just briefly introduce him to you. In addition to him being a Pan-Africanist and human rights activist, he's also an international representative, promoter of Queen Nzinga from Ngongo, Matamba sub-kingdom of Congo. He's been working hard with African brothers and sisters worldwide in the education, culture, agriculture, media, and radio sector. Welcome, Brother Alpha Kwaba. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
Yes, peace and blessings, dear Queen. It's such an honor to be in your show and interact with our brothers and sisters, kings and queens, soldiers and rebels from all over the world. As you said, my name is Alpha Kwabo. I'm just here to serve and to unite with our brothers and sisters globally to uplift and empower our African people globally.
Fantastic. Thank you so much again for joining us today. You attended the meeting at Houses of Parliament, and I wonder if you could just tell us what actually took place at that meeting.
Yes, the meeting was about specifically talked about education. We got invited. I've got invited from one of our great queen. She's an author, Macy Barrett. She has been doing amazing work to highlight the unification of our African people, either in the continent and here in the UK, and also the members of parliament over there. So we had a discussion about the system of education, how the system of education affects our people on the 70s and 80s here in the UK. Now, some of our people that suffer from that violence, psychological violence, they're going for compensation. They wanted to take the United Kingdom government to the court to pay compensation for the damage they did into our kings and queens at that era, 60s and 70s. And that's why we're talking about the system of education. Why it's important for us to understand and understand the system of education here in the UK and in Europe. So we must need to engage ourselves to understand that we must need to focus to educate our own princes and princesses. Because most of the time, as I said in my video, we give our princes and princesses to this system that is totally fail on us because never built for us in the first place. Whether if you in Portugal, France, United States, UK, German, Belgium, as long as you are African, melanated kings and queens, this system never built for us. So, and then sometimes, or most of the time, we give our children to these systems, and then they keep failing on us. So when we trying to rescue them, they're already 18, 19, 20. It's too late.
It's too late.
So that's why we're saying the government must need to create a policies, laws, nationally in the UK in order for us to educate our own children. Because if you notice, the Arabs, they educate their own children, like the Indians and Pakistanis. They have their own community centers. They educate their own children. The Jews, the same. But we as African people, we have to follow the footsteps and we have to do a better job to take our princes and princesses out of this system just so we can educate them in different ways, whether homeschooling, whether creating programs in order for us to give a better education, because they're never going to educate our children how great Marcus Garvey was. They're never going to educate our children about Queen Nzinga. They're never going to educate our children about Kwame Nkrumah. They're never going to educate our children about Queen Nani. Yes, they're going to give us Nelson Mandela because he was a very pacifier. Yes, they're going to give us Dr. King when he was a dreamer, but they're never going to give us Winnie Mandela. They're never going to give us Shaka Zulu. So our children, they've been growing up only think that we've been slaves, not understanding we came from the blood of kings and queens, of warriors. So that's why we need to emphasize this to this new government, because Rishi Sunak came in power. Since he came in power here in the UK, I don't know if you noticed, especially the Indians, the Pakistanis, there's a lot of community centers being built from UK one side to the other. There's a lot of mosques being built here in the UK. Where this money coming from? They even been giving billions to all these Ukrainians. They come here, seek asylum. Next day, they got a house. They got benefits, everything. What about the children of those who built this country with blood, sweat, and tears? What about those children who've been standing, and until this very day, you pay tax, I pay tax. We work hard in this country. Some of our brothers and sisters, they work 9 to 5, 6 hours a week. So it is about time now to put this government into the table. Say, you know what, you better have to cut some piece of the pie for us. In this cake, so-called UK, you have to cut something for us, and it has to be a national, just so we can then use all these resources that is here to educate our own children, to build our own community centers. Yeah. And we must need to do now.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And so that was basically the essence of the conversation, was it? And the discussions that was happening at the UK Parliament meeting, was it? Because, you know, that lays on the table, you know, some of the major issues and the failings of the education sector. So as a result of this discussion, what was the promise? What was the commitment from the UK MPs and others who were at that meeting and in a position to make a change? Because as I outlined in my introduction, the problem of inequalities in the education sector, as you well know, is not new in the UK. We've been talking about this since the 1960s. And you talk about the contribution that we have made towards the wealth of the UK. Our parents also contributed before us, and our grandparents before them, you know, as well. So we've put a lot into the system. Absolutely agree. We don't get enough out. What was the commitment and what was the promise from the UK MPs and others who were at that meeting?
So the discussion now is going to be at the House of Commons, because we know we got a UK system based in two houses. We got the House of Commons and the House of Lords. So, and then be mindful, some of those House of Lords, they've been sons and daughters, they still have the hands of the suffer of our ancestors, because a lot of them, when they abolished the so-called slave trades, they got compensated.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they
so
did.
Now it is about time for us to put that into the table. So the discussion will be opened, and then some of the brothers over there that came to the meeting, they got a concrete plan of action. And that's why the lady, some of the representative was there from the Labour Party. They will take this action into the discussion at the House of Commons. So, and then also obviously we have in one of our great sisters, which is Macy Barrett. You better look out for this name, Macy Barrett. They've been fighting with the lawyers to hold this government accountable, in order for them to give the compensation for the damage, the spiritual damage, the psychological damage this UK government did into the 60s and 70s children.
Mhm.
So that's why now, as we are the new version of all of our ancestors, we need to rally behind and support all those great queens and kings who are doing this work.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, we have to understand policies, lawmakers. We have to understand it. Oh yes, we have to sing it and dancing. Oh yes, we have to talk to our brothers and sisters how great we were. But we must need to understand in that house, that Westminster, that parliament, they passed laws
Mhm. And those
that
laws
damage,
impact on us, that damage us
that damage
indeed.
our people
Yeah,
globally, not
yeah,
only in the UK, globally. So
absolutely.
now it's about time for us to go to that house and
Mhm.
start demanding. They
Which
must
is,
need to
and
share
that's
the
already
pie.
started. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Alpha Kwaba, for giving us a report back on that discussion that happens at the House of Commons, House of the Parliament, and we look forward to hearing more about that action plan and precisely what policies, what new laws are going to be put in place to redress the issues that we've been outlining on this show today and that were presented at the House of the Parliament. Thank you so much, Brother Akwaba. We
And then
look forward to an
send a shout
update.
out. I just want to send a shout out to you and to all the Galaxy family, uh, and all the great brothers and sisters, all the elders that have been doing the work to unite our brothers and sisters globally. Because we have to understand the word of Sankofa. Now it's about time to act. Not only talk about African love, but practice African love globally.
Absolutely.
Unite with our brothers and sisters in Caribbean,
Mhm.
the continent, UK,
Mhm.
Europe in general, United States, just so we can build something back home.
Mhm.
So just so we can build businesses, we can focus on the school, and we can completely tear down this worldwide curriculum system of education that never built for us. So we now need to educate our own princes in order for them to be the kings and the
Thank you.
queens of tomorrow.
That's the
Alpha
new
Quadra.
direction of travel, us taking on responsibility and ownership of the need to educate our children and not leave it in the hands of others who for the last 60 years have been failing us. Thank you, Alpha Kwaba, for joining me on the Sister Shanice Show news slot. One love. Sister
Alpha
Shanice,
Quadra, Prince
out of
Zinc.
here for now.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye for now.